Man, what would you do if you were relegated to one set of rules? And those set of rules meant that you couldn't go up in society. You couldn't make any money. You couldn't live where you wanted to live. If you loved or married or had sex with someone, you would be deemed an outlaw, potentially murdered and castrated. Well, tonight, that's what we're talking about. We're talking about Caste, the book Caste by Isabel Wilkerson, who published that 2 years ago, roughly in 2018. But this book is definitely a page turner, an eye opener, and I know tonight is going to be a deep conversation. So, welcome to the Black Wolf Project. We are here every Sunday at 7 p.m. ish. All right, but like I said, tonight we are talking about Caste. But before we get going, we got a special guest in the house. So Dwight, the librarian, is in the building with us. So let's give him his proper due. We got company tonight, y'all. Oh, and he came prepared. He got the book in hand. What's up, Dwight?
Hey, what's going on, man? I appreciate y'all allowing me into y'all space, man. Big fan of everybody in here. Big fan of everybody, and I'm glad
Appreciate you, brother.
Appreciate you for coming through.
Share some of y'all space with you.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's a community thing, man. So I'm glad you're here because it's all family. It's all family. But before we get going, I want to ask everybody a question because this question came to me over and over again as I was going through this text. Are Black people living in America really Americans? Not in the sense of quote unquote citizenship, right? We know we can get our passport. We know we got to pay our taxes, but are we really treated like citizens? And as such, are we really Americans? So I want to tap in with y'all on that tonight as we go through this text. So what's up, Dream Team? How is everybody? Courtney, Corey, Jimmy, how y'all?
Good.
Yeah, man. I'm living La Vida Loca.
Yeah, everything's gravy, man. Now I gotta go to a lighthearted book after this one though. So
Yeah. Yes.
I'm about to read a graphic novel or something.
All right. Well, as we get started, I want to share this clip real quick.
The book is entitled Caste, and it looks at how society determines where people should or shouldn't belong, but not just through the lens of race, which is really interesting. If we start with that, what is the difference, in your opinion, between caste and race?
Well, caste is basically the artificial, arbitrary, graded ranking of human value in a society. And caste determines one's standing, respect, benefit of the doubt, access to resources or lack thereof, assumptions of competence, and even of beauty. It effectively places individuals in a particular hierarchy based upon their perceived value. Race ultimately is the metric by which, in the caste system that I'm describing here, an American hierarchy, race becomes the physical manifestation of that determines where one is viewed as being ranked historically. It's the cue card, it's the signifier of where a person is placed in the hierarchy.
For many people, they might jump at hearing this and say like, whoa, 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 whoa. How dare you say that America has a caste system? Barack Obama was president of the United States, and you can be a TV anchor, you can be an athlete. If you work hard enough, the color of your skin is not controlled by the caste system. This isn't India. This isn't another country in the world where caste is such a big deal. How do you respond to that? Because you can understand why people get so defensive.
Absolutely. That's why I wrote a book about it. Even in the original, most recognized caste system in the world, there are people who had been born to what are known as the untouchables, the subordinated castes in India, who have managed to transcend the extreme barriers that they have faced, and to be able to go forward and to become, physicians and even a prime minister. And there are always exceptions to the rule. But one of the things that I say to help distinguish between caste and other markers, other ways of measuring people, is caste is the bones, race is the skin, and then class is the accents, the enunciation, the education and dress, the diction, the kind of things that we can control that can that help ourselves to elevate ourselves out of the restrictions. But class does not mean the same as caste. In other words, if you can act your way out of it, it's class. If you
Okay.
cannot act out of it, it's caste.
So if
So I was having a hard time with this, y'all. Um, I was talking to Courtney before the show. I was trying to summarize the book. You know, if y'all who have not watched, right, it's talking about the similarities between America or the United States, India's caste system, and also Germany. And I was like, this is deeper than race. It's deeper than class. But how to summarize it up, I was having a hard time. So I said, well, let me go to the author. And I think she did a great job because there's a difference between class, race, and caste. And so tonight we'll definitely be exploring that. But what is
Yeah,
up?
I just want to start off before we jump into this. It's about to be a heavy conversation. I just want to say that Queen Tracy is foul for the message she just sent us while she's on vacation. So in case you watch this back, Tracy, you foul for that. But no, I mean we definitely can get into it. Kamari, I think you did a great job yourself, good brother. Don't deny yourself of breaking down what the book means.
Well, it's not that, but you know, normally I try to come up with something succinct. I couldn't. And I'm okay with being honest about that, right? But again, this book is deep, man. Again, for everybody that read it, I'm really interested to hear about what you felt, what you thought, if you learned anything different about it. But let's get into it real quick. What was some of y'all's most impactful passages in there? And let's start with Dwight since he's our guest tonight.
Passages. I'll say this. She kind of just starts off giving us the work right off the bat. She talked about permafrost in the soil with the Russian story, right? That illustration of how you have biotoxins in the soil. You know, that right away just gave you an idea of how she kind of just parlayed that into explaining how caste is basically just woven into this society that we know as the United States. The way she framed that just kind of just took me right into where I needed to be to get into this book. I was just very impressed with. She has several passages. I just like the way she set up each part with a story. She gave you what permafrost was one. She talked about the Matrix in another one, which set you up into talking about how Trump came to power. So just a very, very powerful book. It's several passages in the book that I can go to, but just right off the top of my head, I can't give you one right off the bat. But those
Well, that's a good one.
those were just spot on for me, man. It took me right there where I needed to be.
And so when Dwight says the permafrost, right, there were these germs that were in the permafrost in the frozen tundra over there, and when it melted, I forget what type of animal it was.
It was a deer. It was rain.
Deer. It was deer. And they started eating the germs inside of the permafrost, and they all died. And so that Dwight's right. I think the writing in this book was excellent, especially the way she broke down a lot of these.
Yeah, right from the beginning, she framed America as a house in ill repair.
Right.
And so that right there set the stage for everything that was about to come behind it. And then not only did she hit the ball out the park, she hit the ball out of the country. Like she just hit the ball she hit the nail on the head at every single turn, right? And the thing about it is that her storytelling, how she weaved the storytelling into it, like Dwight said, it sets you up to understand exactly where she was going in each section of the book, in each paragraph, in each chapter. And so, like, what she did for me is she put my writing to shame. I thought I was a good writer, and then I read this, and I was like, "Oh yeah, it's levels to this, and I'm definitely not on her level." And then so her writing made me realize that it's a matter of understanding, because nothing she wrote was like a high level with a person with a basic knowledge of reading and understanding couldn't understand it. but it was high level in the fact that she was able to get ideas across in a very succinct way with storytelling and with basic words, but with great explanations and with research behind it. And so, to Ms. Wilkerson,
Corey, was there a particular part that grabbed you? I know I said favorite earlier, right? And that's not fair, right? Is there something that moved you, grabbed you, that stuck
um,
out to you?
well, I mean, there's a lot of things, like Dwight said, there's a lot of things that stuck out to me. The first thing that stuck out to me was that she was able to crystallize all the things that I've been saying my entire adult life about America. She crystallized it, right? I felt vindicated reading the book, right? So I thought I was going to feel one way, and I felt the total another way. I felt vindicated for saying everything that I've ever said. Um, and I always said I'd never take any of it back, and now I know why I would never take any of it back, because I understand, like, she was able to crystallize a lot of the ideas that I've been discussing. Like, if you read our book On Your Time and Space, I talk about a lot of these ideas in there, but she went deeper, way deeper into each one of those things, and crystallized all of those things with her storytelling and her writing. That's why I said she put my writing to shame. Um, but the thing that she did, that she gave us the rules, right? The 8 pillars. And so that stuck out to me, right? Because now when you can see those rules in front of you, you can see it crystallized, and you can say, "Oh, damn, I know all of this stuff because I see it every day." Right? That for me, that was like, all right, I get it. You know what I mean? I see that every day. And now when you see them all work together, you can see how it all moves and why. And then she talks about the use of language. That is something that I also talked about in our book, about how you talk about this stuff, right? Because when you take the race out of it and you don't let people, get off talking about race, when you talk about the actual problems, when you define the problems and make people define what the problems are, and then that's how you get things fixed. And so, that right there, she did a great job of doing that for me.
Okay, Jimmy.
I gotta stop letting y'all go first, man, because Corey and Dwight stole so many of the points that I wanted to make. Man, where can I go? First and foremost, I just want to say, and Corey just said this, she's a masterful writer. I went backwards, so I just started reading The Warmth of Other Suns after reading Cass. So I kind of went backwards. I know the other book came out first, and it's back to the same. Like her writing, like to me, the greatest writer I've ever read is James Baldwin, but she's definitely up there. The way she's able to weave in history, just like a narrative, her own stories, like she's just masterful with the pen. So her pen game is crazy. In terms of, and again, you corrected yourself, Kamari, not a favorite part, but a part that stuck out to me. I think it was a chapter 20. Let me see. I wrote it down. It was like chapter 28 or something. I guess the chapter doesn't matter. But she was talking about a conversation. And she said that if people had to choose between democracy and whiteness, what would they choose? And that one line, that one bar right there just stuck out to me. I know she was speaking about like powdered sugar folks when she said that. But it hit me because what I thought about is, see, even some of our folks deal with that. If they had to choose between democracy and whiteness, a lot of them would choose whiteness too. But that one bar kind of like encapsulated a lot of what's in the book. Just with that one sentence. And this book is very powerful because I felt vindication, but I felt a lot of emotions. And that's how I know when I have a book that's going to sit with me for a long time, is not when it just makes me sad or it makes me happy or it makes me feel vindicated or it makes me angry. It's when the emotion is just like, I'm on a roller coaster. And that's how this book made me feel. In some parts of the book, I got angry. Other parts of the book, I felt like, yeah, that's what we say all the time. Other parts of the book, I just got sad. Other parts of the book, I felt like there's hope. Other parts of the book, I felt like it was hopeless. So when someone's able to take and create a body of work that makes me just go through the emotions, I know that it's a masterpiece. And I think this book is a must read.
Okay, Courtney, what you got for us?
Yeah, I echo what everyone has said so far. This is just a masterful book. So I actually had the book itself, and then I had to download it on Audible because it became too pithy for me to actually sit down and it just And but then when I started to listen to it, I was like, that's even worse. So I fascinated to get through it. It stressed me out. I mean, so again, like Corey, I was vindicated because again, a lot of things that we talk about on the show that I've talked about when it's more specifically when it talks about law, I'm just like, yeah, this is it. And I think I don't know if I shared this on the show before, is that when I was in law school, and this wasn't my constitutional law professor. So in constitutional law in first year of law school, they cover the Reconstruction Amendments, the Slavery Amendments, however you call them, what the name was in class. But they talk about them, and one of the professors, older 6F gentleman, says, blacks are just an unfortunate race. So let me just get myself situated. So he says, blacks are a very unfortunate race. And I thought that was really interesting. So when I saw on page 44 is when he says slavery in this land, when Isabel says slavery in this land was not merely an unfortunate thing that happened to black people. It was an American innovation, an American institution created by and for the benefit of the elites of the dominant caste and enforced by poorer members of the dominant caste who tied their lot to the caste system rather to their consciences. And I thought that was just really interesting because I think a lot of this triggered certain aspects of my life in my reading that really made me go, aha, there it is, that I feel vindicated. But then again, it's just also having the conversation. And she says earlier in this chapter, she says, it doesn't start like it starts when Africans were here, when the first time they were here, which was 1619. It started then. And I think a lot of times we have a problem. You have to be able to name things and call them by name and actually give them historical reference. And I feel like what we've done with American history, or the version that's taught in schools, is we kind of edit and change as it suits our will or our whim, or someone's whim. And we do that on purpose to not necessarily pinpoint something as the genesis, to kind of pull it forward. So if you make the genesis very there's no point or no exact point of where the genesis is, it's easier to kind of mess up the rest of the timeline in a way to make things seem different than they are. She is very clear in the book, and she says, listen, America, slavery is very much American, and you can't separate the two. It's part of the fabric of America. It just is. And the way American history deals with this, we try to separate it and make it a very small part of American history. It was just a stain on the American suit, or a stain on the American flag, but in actuality, it is the American flag. It's everything that's here and everything how we got here.
Gotcha.
Also, to piggyback on what she said a little bit, what Courtney said is that when in the book she talks about how uniquely American slavery is, right? Because there was, the difference between slavery here and slavery in other parts of the world, how slavery was defined and how uniquely American this slavery is. So that's the part that stuck out so that part when Courtney was talking about how slavery is unique here, she went into depth about how that came to be. And so that's why I said, man, she's masterful.
Yeah, and that's that. Both of you guys, I'm glad you brought that up, because it reminded me of Kamari asked the framing question about are we American? Yeah.
Yes,
but the thing is, it's not necessarily a positive thing all the time, but that's kind of what she's talking about there. Like some of these things, even though they're wrong, they're so American. They are American. They are American.
Facts.
Slavery is more American than American pie, and I think a lot of we try to.
Wait a minute, Courtney. Say that again.
Slavery is more American than apple pie.
Actual factuals.
I mean, and I think we try to get these other things like fireworks, apple pie, all this other stuff. It's like, no, the enslavement of humans. That's it. That's the top of it. Apple pie, my toe. So.
No. Well said. I know for me, I've had such a range of emotions. And when we kind of framed out the show, I was trying to figure out what was the thing that jumped out to me most. But this book impacted me in a very, very emotional way. So I was gonna say this for later on in the show, but it's just on my spirit now. We got a bunch of evil motherfuckers. I mean, I can't frame it and say it any other way. I can't try to flower the language up any other way. I mean, there's one thing, because I'm a father, right? And if anybody knows my story, I was a single father. My first I was a teenage parent, and now I have 3 children altogether and a grandchild. But the one story about the young man who gave out Christmas cards to his entire staff, I mean, where he worked at his job, his employees there, and one of them was a little girl. He was kind of sweet on, kind of liked, had a little crush on her, and the daddy had a problem with it. Well, he found out about the error of his ways, and I want to say this happened in either the 20s or the 40s. I can't remember the exact time. Either way, it was still Jim Crow time, and intermarriage was not allowed at all. They didn't play that. So anyway, he figured out the error of his ways, and he wrote an apology letter just to say, listen, I didn't mean nothing, no harm, no foul. And so the daddy's little girl, the white girl, dad, went and rounded up about 3 of his homeboys, got their pistols together, went and got the young man, went and got the young man's father, put a gun to the young man's father, threw the young boy in the river, made his dad drown. Like, I'm like, how sinister is this shit? Like, I was just like, damn, we really are dealing with some evil folks. And when Minister Farrakhan and Elijah Muhammad and Malcolm X have said what they said about the 6 Fs, when you put it in that context, you understand what they mean. Now, I'm not going to say that here because I don't feel like getting demonetized and kicked off the channels, but if y'all follow history, y'all know exactly what I'm talking about. And again, as they framed the whole rise of Trump and the rise of Hitler, and how Hitler was never in office before, Trump was never in office before, and they both basically rode the same wave. It was like, wow, there's a lot of parallels there, a lot of parallels. And it's crazy. A book hasn't really affected me like this since The Color of Law. And again, we know all this stuff, right? We know it, but normally we know it at a more surface level. We understand it, but now we get to see the real granularity of it all. And it's mind-blowing. It's like, how could another human do this to another human?
But the value that they place on whiteness, right, is in the way she like communicated that. Just so much so, the one part that also stuck out to me when she talked about like Obama being elected, and the dude straight killed himself because he didn't want to live in a country that had a black president because he felt like that was an attack on whiteness.
Right.
Like, he literally took his own life. Like, Obama didn't do anything to him personally, didn't change any legislation that affected him, but he just couldn't live in a country with the black leader, so he took his own life. And I mean, crazy, like just madness.
Yeah. When she talked about how all the European people came here and amalgamated into whiteness, right? They all came in. When she talked about when they first came here, they all were identifying by whatever country they came from. But when they got here, they put that all to the side to be white because they seen how the caste system worked here.
I mean, I'm gonna leave that alone.
Hey, listen, she didn't really dig deep into that here, but when she talked about it in the book, also how when other people from Caribbean nations come here, they identify by their Caribbean nation to not identify as American, so they don't get treated like American black people.
That's where I was going, but some of them actually will check off the white box, but that's either here nor there.
Hey, listen, I mean, as they supposed to, if they want to get what they supposed to get. But I'm not going to tell nobody how to, make it how they make it. But what I'm saying is,
I am.
I'm messing with you, bro. I'm messing with you. I see where we about to go, but let's do this real quick. Y'all know every week we do our Black-owned business of the week. So our BOB of this week is Hustle and Clean. It's a personal hygiene company owned by who? 2 brothers. All right, so here, I forgot where I found these brothers at, but just started to dig into the story. It's very inspiring. They've been all over the place. Good Morning America, BuzzFeed, ESPN, Refinery 29. They're out here doing the damn thing. So they have all kinds of wipes, facial wipes, body wipes, Again, it's a personal hygiene company, but they're doing it pretty big. And it seems like a lot of people endorse this product. So when y'all get a chance, go to hustleandclean.com. Okay, again, hustleandclean.com.
Yo, Hustle and Clean. I thought you were about to say Hustle and Soul. I was about to say that show was fire, but all right, Hustle.
Nah, Jimmy, nah, sorry. All right, so Jimmy, you were talking about how many people put nationality over ethnicity and or race.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you think about that?
No, I mean, I understand why, and this book kind of gives you the reason and the logic behind it. And Corey is right; like they're doing it to get ahead. But I mean, it's bothersome. Like most of us don't live our own truths, though, so it is what it is. But this book kind of breaks down why that's a thing, because whether we want to admit it or not, there is a value in whiteness in this country.
Facts. All right, so real quick, let's check in with the family. I see the comments are lighting up. So remember, today's question is, are Black people Americans, right? And not just on the surface. Yeah, we pay our taxes and we get our passports and we get to do what I want, but are we really treated like Americans, like with the full faith and credit of the government behind us, like many other people? All right. So Jose's in the building. How you doing, Jose?
You're
Hey, Jose.
Jose, what's up, brother?
John.
John is here. Hey, Monica.
Hey, Monica.
I know Monica got bars for this.
Yeah, dude.
Hey, Latoya.
Toya.
Angela. Andrea, what's up? Romaine, hey, how you doing? All right, Jose chimes in. He says, no, we are not Americans with the KKK symbol. All right, first vote in.
I ain't mad at him.
Canby says, good evening, everybody. Good evening to you,
Good
Canby.
evening. Good evening.
Mm-hmm.
Chastity, how are you? First time checking
Hey,
in. Welcome.
Chastity.
Hey, Chastity, what's good?
What's going on?
Feel free. You are at home tonight. We all family, so let the comments and questions fly. All right, so Monica says in the book, the author discussed 3 caste systems from 3 places: India, Nazi Germany, and America. The thing that sticks with me is how each place handles the notion of caste. With India, they seem to just accept their place in the system, which is dictated by their family name. In America, we're led to believe that we can escape our caste with hard work. Yeah, and what's crazy is people don't realize this. Germany basically learned all their racist and caste systems from where? The United States. So
I put that in our book too.
Yeah.
That's a fact. That is a
Hard workers
fact.
for suckers.
Yeah.
Now, India, I found interesting, right? Because it's almost a whole religious, not almost, there is a religious,
I'm about to say.
yeah.
She talks about how religion was the thing that put that separated that allowed the caste to go on. You know what I mean? Through the religious work that they did. She also talked about when the 2 guys from I think they were South Carolina, when they were talking about, you know, the slave and the religion and how can the slave actually be religious?
Yeah,
and then the dude was asking the slave, you know, do you believe in the second coming of Jesus? And he told him that Jesus was never coming. And that every time the slave proclaimed that Jesus is Lord, he hit him with a lash until he killed him, because the slave would never give up the religion.
But Corey, you got it right, but I want to dig into the context of that, right? Because again, I was going to do a whole segment. Y'all was going to go rogue, and I was going to title it "These Evil Motherfuckers," right? Because the slave owner was with another slave owner, and they were having a conversation, and the slave owner was saying, "Well, my slave is devout to white Jesus." Like, if we're going to be accurate about it, he wasn't talking about black Jesus; he was talking about white Jesus. And so the slave, that's what the slave wanted. He knew his slave master wanted him to show how devout he was to white Jesus, but he was defying the slave master at the same time. And so that's why the slave master beat him with the cat of nine tails, or whipped him. But again, just how insidious is that?
Yeah.
Right? He's going along to get along to play the game, but you got this vicious game going on, basically to show that this thing, right? And I don't think none of my African people are things. I'm saying this to get a point across. This is their mindset that this thing is just an animal, doesn't have a soul, doesn't have a spirit, and doesn't have a mind. And we're just going to beat him and beat him and bleed him.
But that's how foul they are. Like I wouldn't even treat an animal that way. You know what I mean? Like I understand, like you see folks as animals, but who treats an animal that way? You're just evil, and you're just evil.
Mm-hmm. Right. That.
Yeah.
Baked in.
So-
It's baked in, brothers and sisters. It's baked in. The
Yes.
fact
Yeah.
that,
Yeah, man.
like I said, the very first chapter where it talked about the biotoxins all the way under and the reindeer coming up. That's how deep down this is. It's
Yeah,
down deep.
insidiously deep.
You know,
And
it's
she
so
did a good job of framing it.
right, exactly. It's so deep down that you got other people coming from other countries making a decision. You know what I mean? Like right off the bat. Oh, I'm gonna go this way. Automatically they're gonna go towards being the white, go to the white factor of it. So
Right.
it's so systematic. It's ridiculous, man.
Yeah.
And it
And so listen, if you're just joining us, folks, all right. This is the Blackwell Project. I see we got some new people in the building. This is the Blackwell Project. We gather every Sunday to do our town hall meeting to discuss major issues that are going on in the Black community as it relates to wealth. And y'all all know wealth is not just about money, it's all encompassing, right? It's health, it's wealth, it's mental health. This speaks to much of the mental health in our community. When we talk about post-traumatic slave disorder, this very much highlights what's happening in many of the minds of Black folks.
Yeah, man.
And it's been passed down through generations.
Facts.
All right. So Monica also says the metaphors used to help me visualize were great. Bones in the body, beams in the house, the Matrix. Yeah, the Matrix one. I have a note down on that. That was very, very. I thought very, very poignant because it's kind of the unseen thing. If anybody is a Matrix fan of the movie that we're talking about, like if you see a glitch in the Matrix or you notice something wrong with the programming, and she did a great job of talking about. See those birds over there?
the bird.
Yeah, they're operating like that because somewhere a program was written, and when they go off kilter, the program is off. It's foul.
Her
All
pen
right.
is crazy.
Yeah. Like I said, her pen game is sick.
Yeah.
Hey, Michael, how you doing? Hello from Florence, South Carolina.
Yeah,
Welcome.
what's going on, Mike?
Mike, what's really good, Mike?
All right, so Jose says there were so many gems in the book, but the one line that stuck with me: if people were given a choice between democracy and whiteness,
That's it.
how many would choose whiteness?
That's
Yeah,
it right there.
yeah.
I think
That
we-
one
Like
line
Jimmy
was
said
like,
earlier.
I think we got the answer, right?
yeah, and that's
Yeah,
crazy because that's like
I know.
towards the end. But as she got to that, I'm
Yeah,
like,
it's
damn, that's like the
definitely
whole
towards the
book of one sentence.
All right, so Monica says the 8 pillars. The one that I kept in my mind is hegemony.
Endogamy.
Monogamy. Thank you. You know what? I've been meaning to look it up. Can somebody throw that definition in the comments for us? Because let's talk about that. All right, Latoya says they chose whiteness. They choose whiteness every day. January 6th showed us that.
Every single day.
Facts. Where's Tracy at? She's somewhere in a robe. We need the sounds today, right?
So, but see, this is why when I tell people I don't have white friends and they get offended, I don't care. I mean, this is why though, because in the end, whiteness is they're always going to side on the side of whiteness. They don't have a choice because of the way the country is set up. This is why I don't have white friends. It's not because I hate white people, because I don't hate people, period. It's about I know how this country is formulated and the reasons why this country is formulated. And so I know that having white friends is not a situation for me that is conducive to me getting ahead. Right.
So Corey, let's unpack that a little bit, right? So you don't have white friends
At all.
because you feel they could never truly be your friend. Is
Never.
that what I'm getting?
Yeah, never.
Okay.
Because in the end, if it start to go down and the mob is coming for me, what side they gonna be on? Are they gonna join the mob or they gonna clap at the mob? They gonna join the mob. So I don't got no white friends. None.
I have a question. I have a
I see
question.
Courtney, go ahead, Courtney.
I mean,
Yeah,
everybody's entitled to their opinion. So, I mean, I think one of the things is that, especially understanding history in the United States, is that you had abolitionists that were white. So you had people that were like, "Yo, this slavery stuff ain't it. This is not right," and they were, in combination with a lot of different things, they were helping the cause. So I don't. So I think Corey. I mean, like I said, everybody has the ability to have their own opinion and what they. I mean, like I can't tell people who to be friends with or whatever, and nor do I want to. But I think it's really important that even in Corey's point of me disagreeing about the idea of having white friends is the fact that you have to wonder on what side they will be on if it goes down. It's not.
So my little pushback to that is, if you gotta wonder, then they're not your friend.
But you don't know. But I mean, here's the thing: you just don't know. I mean, some people. I think when I was, when I did a lot of reading about abolition, there are some people that you would never even expect it to be based on who they were as abolitionists. So what I'm saying,
no, for sure. I'm not saying I'm not individually. Individually, they're great people individually, because people are going people. People are going to be good, bad, in the middle, right? Individually, but we're talking about systems, right? And so when we're talking about systems, I'm protecting myself from the system. So of course, in the real world, like I treat people as people, but like as far as inviting them to my house or making things, comfortable for them, where we get together and know each other and all that stuff, I'm good on that.
I mean, I can't tell you.
We got company, right? We got to treat Dwight right. He not used to the chaos.
I'm sorry, Dwight. I'm sorry, beloved.
I'm just not used to it, like being a part of it now.
I know. It's a whole rhythm you got to get into.
I'm sorry, beloved.
Good, man. I'm a guest, man. I just got a quick question too. It kind of goes with what Corey and also what Courtney is saying. Are white folks reading this book? Are they taking away some of the information from this book that we are taking away from this book? That's what I'm talking about.
Nah,
I'm getting all this.
I would say yes. I would say yes, they are. It's a New York. It's a New York Times best-selling book. There are white people reading this book. It's on Oprah's.
They're reading it.
Book Club.
They're reading it to push. They're reading it to push back, though. They're reading it to push back because what they're going to tell you. What they're going to tell you is, well, it's not me. They like to excuse themselves from it. I'm not racist, right? And they don't. And that's another thing she did very brilliantly. Even at the end, when she kind of wrapped the entire book up, is one of the last things she said was, caste and racism aren't the same thing. So you still can benefit from this caste system, even if you're not racist, right? And so don't confuse like the caste system from just racism. So a lot of folks that you may have helped to get to that list will just they'll push back in their own way and say I'm not racist, not fully getting that. That's not even her thesis when she's giving this book. But to Corey's point though, real quick, I just want to go back to that. When we call someone a friend, it means something different. I can't tell you the last time that I've broken bread with a 6F. Probably, I don't even know. Like I probably can count on a hand how many times I sat down with a 6F and broke bread. So to call someone your friend, Corey, it's funny because I was laughing as you said it, but I'm like, I might be in that boat too. I've never had a 6F in my house. I don't go to a 6F's house, so probably in the same boat as you.
Yeah, like it's not.
But listen, not even consciously though. Like I'm just thinking about it as you said that.
That's what I'm talking about. Like as a protection measure, right? Because you like, man, like I love my folks. I love being with my folks. I understand. You understand the history. You read. You understand the history and the treachery that's going on in this country. And so you like friends. I think I'll hold off on that. You know what I mean? Like we can, as a way, as an everyday thing in an everyday living, I'm not getting involved in that. But as far as as business is concerned and all of that stuff in the world, I want people to people. I don't want people to be out here, doing all kinds of crazy stuff, trying to get away from, what's going on in the world. But what I'm saying,
y'all saying, let me do.
Hold on one second, Dwight. Dwight, hold on one second.
Come back.
So listen, y'all. I know some of y'all are new tonight. We kind of have our own lingo and slang. So if you want to know what 6F means, it's the hex code. I'm not going to tell y'all what it is. Just Google hex code 6Fs. It's not the number 6. It's 6 Fs. As
literally 6 Fs.
Right. So look that up, and then you'll be able to be on track with us. All right, Dwight, what
Wait,
you got?
Yeah, Kamar, my pushback is I'm not saying that white folks are not reading it or 6Fs. Damn, I just gave it away. My bad. My bad.
It's all good.
I'm not saying that
It
they're
don't
not
matter.
reading. I'm saying, are they taking away the information that's going to help them change this society? I don't think so.
I think some are. I think some are, but I don't think a large majority are.
All right,
But
That's
some
what I'm
are.
talking about.
Courtney.
I'm talking
Come
about the
on.
large
Come
majority.
on, come on, woman. Come on,
I'm
woman.
talking about the large majority.
So
Be
here's
optimistic.
my general concern is that we're assuming because a book is on the New York Times bestseller list is that people are actually reading it. That means the book is purchased, not necessarily read.
Facts.
Facts,
Come
yeah.
on.
And,
Come on.
you can skew those numbers if you know what you're doing.
Yeah, man.
That's a fact, and it is definitely a campaign. All right, so let's get to the rest of some more of these comments.
Mm-hmm.
All right, family, be patient with us. We're getting right to you. Let me see where I left off at. All right, Camby says one of the impactful parts was how the caste system harms the dominant group. Loss of Satchmo Page, youthful talent, people who died of smallpox, lost inventions and genius from people who were denied opportunities or murdered before they could self-actualize.
Can I say something on that real quick?
Of course you can.
Because that was something I had took a note about too, and shout out to Cam for recognizing that. It reminded me of it was a passage in Warren Buffett's book. In his book, he talked about how his sisters were smarter than him, had way more talent than him,
But he was
but
amazing.
but just based upon the time frame that it came up with, they didn't get any opportunity.
Yep.
And he said it makes him sit back and think about what kind of things the world is missing in terms of inventions and progress, because most of the people he actually said based on race, also sex, don't get an opportunity to create. And it made me think about that as she said that in the book, Satchel Paige was still dominant, and he was damn near 50 years old. So it's like 60. I'm sorry, but 60. Yeah. So it's like we don't even recognize like the kind of stuff that we miss, and we're still missing to this day because everybody doesn't have an opportunity to create.
All right, so bear with me 1 second, y'all. Y'all getting busy in the comments tonight. All right, so Monica says the stories about Youngstown, LL, and the one little black boy on the team.
Oh,
I mean, live it. Is that the swimming team?
yeah, that's the was it a baseball team and they were at the pool or something?
Oh,
Right.
yeah.
Oh, that
But
was-
you know what? Now you brought up swimming, right? What again got me
Oh, man.
was where the brother was swimming in Lake Michigan out of Chicago, and they said it was either over 500 or 5,000 people that chased him out of the daggone lake
Yeah.
because he swam past the black section. And I mean, but again, going to Monica's point, right? They want to drain the pool, or they were draining pools at the time, and black people got in there. It's just like,
Yeah, because the idea of racial purity, that water was a big thing around racial purity. And so that was, the Germans did it with the Jews, and water is the lifeblood of the world. And so if you control water, you control the world. And so that's what they did. They use a lot of control around water. Get them away from the coastlines, get them away from the water. We can't be in the same, water as them because it's the mishmash with racial purity and all. Listen, man, we know that is bull.
I play sports on multiple levels, and what I'll tell you is they need some hustle and clean. What's it, hustle and clean?
Yeah, man.
Never mind. I'm gonna leave that alone. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Kamar. Get to the comments.
all right, what up, Khan? Welcome. And yeah, brother, read the book. Read the book. I think you'll love it. Shanice, how are you? Yes, read the book. I think you'll love it as well.
Yep.
Monica says, yes, Corey, the West Indians and Africans saw very quickly that being identified as Black American would put them at the bottom of the caste system. So they make sure to highlight their nation and make sure they keep their accent to separate themselves.
And I'm not mad at them. I get it.
You're still living in the coop.
Right.
Dr. Natis in the building. Hey, Talisha, how are you? Welcome. No only whiteness, but also distance from blackness.
Man.
That too.
Oh, you know what? Talisha sent me. Damn, it was a post that I wanted to share with everybody. I'll bring that back next week. It was fire though. I've been struggling with this question for the longest. I consider myself African, but when I got to Africa, they consider me American. I was somewhat offended. So that's a very nuanced situation. So if you go and you read Garvey, if you go and you read Kwame Nkrumah, if you go and you read Fela, they look at black folks in a Pan African perspective. Not everybody does that, and so it's almost like if you're from one neighborhood and you go to another one, and you ain't supposed to be there, it could be an issue. So it's rough. It's rough. All right, Ken says, I knew about lynching, but had never heard about lynching postcards or 6Fs taking parts of the victims as souvenirs. Listen, Ken, it's almost, if you haven't heard of this before, so they love to take the private parts, women's breasts, men's penises, black men's penises,
and they would
black women's breasts, and take them as souvenirs, and yes, send them as postcards. Again, sadistic, evil, devilish, unhuman at all. All right, so Don says the part about how the Nazis thought some aspects of American racism was too harsh blew my mind. Yeah.
That postcard part though, like, was absolutely insane. Like they would literally have parties for lynching. Like they would crowd around for lynchings the way we do verses.
Yeah. I mean, what was that one? It was the people in Illinois. Again, the Karens are always at the center of some bullshit. And y'all know this is rough for me when Corey is self-censoring and I'm not.
I know. I'm like, hold on. Like, what happened here? Like, it's like it's like Space Jam. Like, Corey went to the corner of my screen. Like, Corey let his hands go tonight.
Much emotion.
But say that again, Dwight.
I said I've never seen this much emotion from you, man. But yes.
Listen, it was. I mean, I'll be honest. Like I said, I was a single father growing up, and so I've been a father more than anything else in my life. And some of these stories were just moving. It's like, damn. Had it not been for birthplace, time, location, that could have been me. Easy, real quick. And I think some of us forget that. And so we take on this Negropean aspect of life a lot of times, and we forget about what's real, what's important, and what's pragmatic. But again, there was a young man in Illinois. He had supposedly whistled or said something to a Karen, allegedly, right? And then they just decided to pick this young man out, put him in jail. The mobbers said, no, that's not good enough. We want him dead. So they went to the daggone courthouse, lit the courthouse on fire, told the sheriff what it's going to be, then they lynched the mayor. And when they found the young man, they shot him up. But they argued about what souvenirs they were going to get. Again, super duper sadistic. Jimmy says, so true, Don. Yep. All right, to be an African American is to be African without any memory and American without any privilege.
I'm telling you, his pen is next level.
Go ahead.
No, I'm just saying James Baldwin was like something else.
Yeah, his pen, like he might have the sickest pen in the game
ever.
Well, but Kamari did ask that question earlier. He's like, are we American? Or well, I'm not sure exactly how you framed it, but you identify by the rights and privileges you're able to enjoy. And to be as American and not, the most simplest thing at this point is voting, and that's in the balance. In terms of getting equal treatment with the law, that's in the balance. It's every single thing that we equate to being American democracy is just not here. And we don't, at least not to the extent that we should receive it or we should have it. And so I question, and it's frustrating, like I said, slavery is just American as American pie, or more American than American pie. But apple pie, excuse me. But I say that to say, well, if that is the case, and we are America because we built it, why is it that we're not entitled? We know why, but why is it are we not entitled to the rights and privileges of being an American when we actually built the country? And it just seems so unfair.
That's also American. Not giving rights and privileges is American.
Yeah. So the thing about it is, you always you know what I talk about when we talk about fair, right? Because I know about how this country was built. Fair is only poignant when you talk about the weather, right? Because everything else is about privilege. Fair is only to be talked about when you're talking about the weather, right? You can't, if you're talking about fair in any other context, you're missing the point. America is not about fairness. And so this is why I always tell people about talking about fair and talking about this country. You can't put those two things together and have them match up when you talk about this country, right?
But to expand on that, right? Fair doesn't really exist across the whole human spectrum. I mean, because again, we're seeing caste in multiple places at multiple times at different varying degrees, but caste.
We're just talking about the American experience. Not to say it doesn't exist, period. I'm just talking about the American experience. You're right about it not existing.
I'm saying it doesn't.
You're right about it not existing overall, but we were talking about the American experience, which is why I said America.
Gotcha. All right, so Monica says, it's hard to answer the question, are black people American? What does that mean? I think if you have a group of people sitting together, then together they would have a hard time agreeing on what it means to be American.
Facts.
Well, those folks that went down to the Capitol on January 6th, I think they have their own definition of what American is.
And some people think they're foundational black Americans.
Yep.
Oh Lord, yeah, I don't even want to talk about that. Don Johnson says that level of hatred is in their DNA and always will be there.
Facts.
All right, Monica said right. They were gassing MFs by.
They was gassing motherfuckers, but they thought the Germans was gassing people, but they thought the Americans were harsh.
Yeah.
What's a band? What's a band?
That means it's like it's past bananas. It's bananas.
It's bananas. It's banoodles.
All right, I like that. I'm at the jack your slang, Monica. All right, Willard. Willard's in the building. How are you, sir? Willard's another historian. We got to get you on one of these two, Willard. On being American, think how often you hear white people say things like my country when communicating with black people. They don't say our country because the caste system has conditioned them that they are a superior American. To them, black folks are a lesser other. I would agree.
Man.
I would agree.
Woo.
Well said.
Until the Olympics come and they look for some athletes.
Right.
All right, Latoya says, this made me think about how they're trying to control the narrative in the diaspora. Qualifying Egyptians as white people is a prime example. That one's nuanced, though, too. That's very nuanced.
Is it?
No.
Yes.
It's not nuanced at all.
It is. It is.
I mean,
but
how?
I don't want to derail the show.
Read, you still think it's nuanced?
Is what?
After what we just read, you think there's any nuance to that?
From the context of what Latoya just said, yes, it is.
Man, listen, when they be casting those Hollywood flicks and they put 6 Fs and they playing like Ramses, some of it don't even make sense.
But the Egyptians of the time they were depicting are different than the Egyptians now. So
no, I understand that. I'm just talking about in general how they try to paint Egyptians from a historical standpoint.
Absolutely.
They got them with blue eyes and blonde hair, yo.
But listen, and Courtney saw this. There was this Christian brother who got mad at me for saying Black Jesus. Well, I intentionally say Black Jesus because I grew up in a church where they had a whole bunch of white Jesuses in the goddamn stained glass. And so in my mind, I was raised to see white Jesus. And I know a lot of us are too, even as much as we like to play the game that Jesus ain't no color. Bullshit. They portrayed him to be white. We brought it, we eat it, and we still own that. So I intentionally say Black Jesus all the time. And this one guy got mad at me. He's black. He was like, well, Jesus isn't black. He's no color. Oh, really? So
a black guy told you that?
Yes.
Florida Evans. What's going on?
I was about to listen. I call him Black Jesus because, like Dwight said, I grew up in Florida. Evans called him Black Jesus, so Black Jesus.
Florida didn't call him Black Jesus.
Michael. I'm sorry, Michael Evans. Black Jesus. It was Michael Evans.
Yes.
Michael Evans.
But yeah, Courtney saw it. It was a whole thing. It was a
I
whole
can't believe
thing.
a black dude told you that.
It was.
But listen, like you said, they talked about it in the book, right? Some people want to be associated with whiteness more than blackness or more than democracy, whichever way you want to go with it.
More than anything.
Yeah.
Proximity to whiteness is a thing. And when I see, this is why I always talk about this, right? So if you ever go to my Facebook page and look at a lot of my posts about the proximity to whiteness, and then some of the responses I get from some of the people and the excuses they make about trying to get that proximity to whiteness, it almost makes me want to throw up in my mouth. And then Isabel Wilkerson talks about how that proximity to whiteness is all caused by trying to get away from the bottom caste, right? It all makes sense. You know what I mean? It all makes sense. I still don't have to like it, even if it makes sense, but it all makes sense now. You know what I mean? So
Negro, the magic Negro.
What happened?
And they have problems separating from that magic Negro, man. Everybody wants to be a magic Negro. And they don't
they want to elevate off. I can't get mad at people.
You can't be a magic
off that bottom caste.
Yeah.
I just can't do it the way they do it. Go ahead, Dwight.
Yeah, it's frustrating because if you listen to the societal norms, they'll try to make you think that you're a magical Negro.
Yeah.
Really, what you're doing is you're doing all you can just to survive, right? And then you go from surviving to thriving, right? So you're not a magical Negro. You're just hard working, trying to do what you got to do to survive and go from surviving to thriving. But this magic Negro thing is big, and what I see America trying to cast, since we're using that word, cast black people who are successful into this magical, oh, you're different from everybody else. You know, you're not like those guys. You're magic.
Yeah, but that's always what they
I do that all the time. I say that all the time in my I have a lawyer group chat. We call it, we say Puff the magical mystical Negro.
Yeah.
What kind of stuff y'all talking in the lawyer group chat? Y'all get it down like that?
Absolutely.
That's hilarious. All right. So Latoya says there be no America without us. Facts. Not just black Americans, right, but even Haitians. Nobody gives the Haitians their credit for fighting in the Revolutionary War and for making sure Napoleon had to get out of there. So, that's a fact. All right, so we got some definitions here. Thank you, Rika. Endogamy. All right, endogamy. I guess that's the word of the day. The custom of marrying only within the limits of a local community, clan, or tribe. Again, endogamy, the custom of marrying only within the limits of a local community, clan, or tribe. Okay.
We can talk about that.
Well,
look like they got the same definition.
Now we got some biology there. Biology, the fusion of reproductive cells from related individuals and breeding. Oh, there's the word.
Self-pollination.
Thanks, folks. Oh, Monica came through too. Thank you, Monica. All right, so let's see what else we got. Arla Toy says, I always have this debate with my folks. I tell them if aliens came, they'd be placed ahead of us. This country exists daily to keep us at the bottom. Damn, that's a bar.
All facts.
That's a bar. And listen, the aliens are here now. I think it's interesting that allegedly the government's releasing all this classified information now. All right. So Courtney says, when you start digging into the lives of some of the so-called abolitionists, it's disappointing as hell. I rather assume that it's the shit hits the fan, they would be on my side. Right. There was a lot of abolitionists that were racist as hell. And not to take away from any of the other points, all of this stuff, right? History, life, it's all nuance. We can't really try to talk about it in zeros and ones or black and white, because then you miss out on a lot of the jewels there, in my opinion. All right, Monica says, I can have a conversation with anyone. I can learn from anyone, but I don't throw a friend around all willy-nilly. Nor should you.
Salute.
Nor should you.
Same.
All right, hi, Donna. How you doing?
What's going on, Donna?
Delta Lucy, how are you?
Here, what's going on?
Ivy. Good point, Courtney. All right, welcome, y'all. I think y'all are new here. So listen, this is the Black Wall Project. We aspire to every week have a thought-provoking conversation, generally around the topic of wealth, in particular Black wealth. So we are here every week at 7 p.m. This is not the show where we're talking about get-rich-quick schemes and scams. We want to talk about the real issues and figure out ways that we can begin to bring some of these real issues to light so we can have conversations that actually move to action. All right, we're not just here talking just for the sake of talking. All right, so Latoya says white people don't want to change the white on the grand scale, even the poorest of them. They cling to whiteness to the death of them.
Literally to their death.
All right, Ken says the father who named his daughter Miss reminded me of the subtle ways parents tried to force respect for their children, the potential danger that stemmed from white people trying to put the young lady in her place. I thought of friends, family, and my grandmother's peers who were named honorifics such as Queen, Sir, Duke. Yep. And I mean,
I have a lot of those in my older family names.
Yeah. But I mean, even when you look at some of the Nguzo Saba or the principles of Kwanzaa, and you look at what is it, Kuji Chakalia? I think I'm right. So damn y'all. Self-determination.
Yeah.
Well, I said Nguzo Saba, but I was naming the actual principle. But being self-determination, right? That's a part of all that. My name is Kamari. That was my parents trying to kind of quote unquote claim their right over me so I don't have to walk through life and having some 6F name that would be disrespected. But on the flip side, my own folks and the 6Fs would still disrespect me and give me all kind of other names and titles and stuff. So it's almost like you can't win. All right, we got that one. Just jumped on me, y'all. All right. Oh, yep, Courtney. Don Johnson says, I don't go to work get together because
I'll be outnumbered.
I'll be outnumbered.
Thank you. I think they're reading it from the standpoint. Look what my granddaddy did. I'm so proud of him.
I ain't mad at that, Don. I know exactly what you're talking about, bro.
All right. Jose says RGB color code. 6Fs are always going to be split between those who are going to be about the work and those who will read the book to push back and shout. Not me. Sadly, when pushed enough, some of those who are willing to do the work will fall back on whiteness in the
every
end.
time. I believe everybody has a breaking point, and a lot of these people breaking points ain't that hard to reach.
What do you mean by breaking point, Corey?
Like if confronted with a situation where they got to choose us or whiteness, they'll choose it.
Oh, I got you.
Listen, Theodore DiBiase told me that.
I don't think the breaking point is far at all.
So that's like the line in the saying you're speaking of.
Theodore DiBiase told me that, man. Everybody got a price.
Everybody got a price.
Everybody. So it gets to a certain point.
Willing to pay.
There you go.
Be on the side of what's correct. Because what's right and what's correct aren't always the same thing.
Right. So Latoya says exactly. All these kids being named King isn't by coincidence. My great-grandmother was named Queenie, and she told me it was by design. Yep.
Pretty much.
Yeah, they had lynching fitness. This is a fact.
That's sick-ish.
All right. Jose says we're waiting. We're watching it still be us in America is still confused about if it's proper to give us reparations and legal remedies to stop the lynching.
All right, let me stop right there. Reparations mean you're repairing something that you did wrong. You can't repair something that you never stopped doing. You can't make reparations until you stop doing the thing that you were doing. So we're never getting reparations until we can get them to stop whatever they're doing. So the reparations there's no reparations coming. We need to let that go. And we got to work on other things. And then once we can get them to stop doing whatever they're doing, then we can talk about reparations. Reparations happens after something stops. They say, all right, we've stopped, and now we're going to give you something because we stopped. We jacked it all up. Let's fix it for you. They're not trying to fix it.
And to piggyback on Corey's point, though, also, reparations usually comes when you have an organized body that has power and is pushing for it as well.
Sure.
That reparations is never going to happen. Not in your lifetime, not your children's lifetime. You got to fix the stuff that's wrong first.
All right, so Monica says when she discussed August Landmesser, thank you. It made me want to have conversations with people that eventually found out they're on the wrong side of history.
Mm.
Was that the German guy that wouldn't smile in the picture?
Yeah, he wouldn't put the Hail Hitler thing up.
Right.
And I think about that too. Like, you know, as you've seen the stuff that happened over the last several years, like people, I don't think they're thinking about the fact that they'll be on the wrong side of history, right? When you look at those lynching postcards and things, there's people back there smiling and laughing and having a good old time. That's somebody's granddad. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's somebody's uncle, like, of people that are still here now. And they're just on the wrong side of history. And, you know, they try to distance themselves. That's not me. That's my. But the fact of the matter is, you have people making decisions today on camera, like the guy that, you know, with the tiki torches, all those folks. Like, how will history tell your story? How will you be looked at in 20, 30 years?
Right.
But they're showing their emotions. They don't think about that.
All right, so Monica says there was a part where she discusses Frederick Douglass and the gestures that he thought could incite white rage and violence. He says the tone of an answering at all and not answering can all incite white rage. How the hell can we operate in a world where that conundrum exists?
It's the damn if you do, damned if you don't. But we've had that. I mean, that's just it.
Which is why I don't even try.
Yeah.
So that goes to respectability politics. Many of us believe in respectability politics, but respectability politics is bullshit.
Yeah.
The part where you're taking your hat off your head, you're stepping off the curb, you're diverting your eyes. It's all this nonsense, man.
Right.
I do
no. Like, I think that's the same thing, the conversation that we've been having. It's like, you know, when we have those interactions with police, it's like, well, all he had to do was blah. All he had to do was X.
None of it was going to be good enough.
That way. But here's the thing, is that there's nothing we can do to prevent violence against our persons. It is really at the whim of someone else.
It's funny. Oh, I'm sorry, Courtney.
It's
funny. I don't know if it's Corey or Jimmy or one of us. I know we all agree that we are definitely at war. But I think it was Corey, right? He said, but we don't even want to acknowledge it, though, right?
Yeah, that was my bar, though. But go ahead, though. You got it.
Well, I gave you.
I know. I mean, you can give it to my brother, but I'm just saying, like, you know,
I said both of y'all. Stop it.
Trying to besmirch me.
Now listen, I don't want no smoke from the bottom of the team. All right, y'all tag team and whip my ass all the time. All right, Courtney had to run, y'all. So we will definitely see her next time. Thank you, Courtney, for joining in tonight. But yeah, like a lot of people don't really realize what the climate actually is. So it's really hard, in my opinion, to see how we get out of this. All right, Don says, I wonder how many abolitionists would have switched places with a black man or woman in these days. You know the answer.
None.
Big fat goose egg. Monica says, Don Johnson, these days, they wouldn't switch today because, like Wilkerson said, they see it as a demotion. All right, Don says, white people will never give up their privilege, no matter how for the people they are.
Never.
All right,
listen, if you wake up in a world where, you know, the earth is your turf, you walk around and do whatever you want to do, it'd be hard to give that up. So, you know, that's why my approach is, y'all evil. Y'all are what y'all are. I'm just gonna go work over here and just leave me alone. That's all. Because I mean, I can't knock you. You ain't giving that up.
Yeah. I'm not. I gotta dissociate myself from that to even feel comfortable.
All right, so Ken says it's a trip that enslavers received reparations, though.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yep. Yes, they did.
Haiti is the most punished nation in the world. Haiti is one of the most punished nations in the world.
Well, no, that was talking about here in the U.S. though.
No, it was here. She talks about here when slavery ended. The actual folks that had slaves were given reparations.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, but it was only in one place. Whether that makes a difference or not.
No, I don't.
Only in one place.
What place was that, Dwight?
Washington, D.C. was the only place where they gave reparations. One guy.
I thought that was throughout the South, through a lot of the
Yes, sir.
one guy. I need to go back and revisit that.
Yeah, me too. I thought it was more than that.
Like we said, though, it doesn't matter. The thought that the
That
fact
it could happen at all.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, Kahan says, what are your thoughts on Jeff Bezos giving Van Jones 100 M's to use as he sees fit?
I don't have
It's his money. I don't have a thought. What about y'all?
I got some besmirchment. Did Van Jones cry though?
Yeah, he's a crime mofo, man. He's a crime mofo, man.
Yeah.
Nobody else, nothing else.
Yeah,
I mean, I ain't got that. Listen, I was told I ain't got nothing good to say.
I've made it. Yeah, I've made it my point not to not say nothing crazy about black folks on here. So I don't have any thoughts at all.
I just want to see what he does with it.
I think he'll do some good work with it. How good?
I don't trust Van Jones. His proximity to whiteness is too close.
Oh, he loves it too.
Monica says we're never getting reparations. If hell freezes over and we get reparations, watch how many folks start claiming they have one drop of melanin. Kind of like how they start lying about having indigenous heritage to benefit from tax breaks and whatnot. Yep.
Yo, some of those pictures are hilarious though. When you see like 6 Fs and they start putting on the costumes because trying to get the tax breaks, they want to go real far. You know what I mean? Like they be wilding on it.
Facts. Latoya says they don't care about how they're being viewed historically because they'll change history as well to protect their comfort. Bar. Whiteness and their comfort are the priority for them. Jeez, that was a bar.
Yeah, you ain't never lie right there. Listen,
that on display.
I guess you're right. Yeah, I ain't think about that part. This changed history.
Do that too with this shit that happened.
Man, listen, I told you how I got into history in 10th grade. I forget whoever the history teacher was. Matter of fact, it was Mr. Jackson in African American history. He was also part of the football team, the football coach. And he said the winners of the wars get to decide what history looks like.
Facts.
And that changed my whole perspective on everything I've ever heard about history. I was like, damn, it changed everything. I was like, wow. Like when you put it that way, and then it let me know that a lot of history, the vast majority of history is a lie because the winner gets to tell the story of no one else gets told.
Facts. All right, Latoya says they're always making they're always making cooning profitable to try and dissuade the truth tellers.
Man. Woo!
Yep.
Sheesh.
Yep.
She out
here. I will say this, right? I do feel sometimes we label cooning as wrong. But not you, Latoya. I know you're not in that group.
Latoya got her pen out tonight. She got bars for days.
Oh yeah.
Popping at
Boy, you always had a problem with that cooning thing, though.
Well, I have a problem that
somebody must have called you one before, didn't they?
Oh, I get called a coon, a Republican, a white people lover, a house Negro. I've been called all kinds of stuff, and that's cool. Because they never look at my resume and see the work that I've done. Nor am I trying to put that on display because that's not what it's about. But I do think as a people, we should have more grace and understand that maybe you just don't understand some of the moves that are being made. Not necessarily by me, but by anybody.
Yeah.
Now, there is some straight up cooning though. So let's be clear, there is a line in the sand that cannot be crossed.
People be getting people like Ice Cube get labeled as a coon, right? And people do this without checking his jacket.
Exactly.
Like, you really got to check that man's jacket before you call him a coon, right? Like, when people like him get labeled as a coon, it bothers me, right? Because you don't even got to do a deep check into his jacket. You just got to do a cursory look at his jacket to see that this man never cooned in his life.
And Corey, just to piggyback on that, right? I totally disagree with how Ice Cube played that thing out. But I would be remiss if I were to call Ice Cube a coon just because I disagreed with something that he did. Yeah, and like you said, his body of work is impeccable. It's impeccable.
Yeah. He might have made a timing misstep, but none of that was in to try to harm us as a group of people. Like, he's not cooning and shucking and jiving for the lights. He got the lights already. He don't need them.
Absolutely.
And his jacket don't suggest that he would do anything like
But
that.
this is why
his history says that he does that.
This is why marketing is amazing, because it's all how you market it, man. Because there's some folks that can do whatever they want to do, and we won't call them to the carpet.
Listen, I mean, let's talk about this real quick. Kanye,
Jay-Z.
Well, not Jay-Z. I disagree with you.
Look, Kamari about to start clapping at me. Look, you ready to defend him right now?
I ain't clapping. Listen,
proving my point.
But no, I think Kanye is egregious. Like, he called Trump his daddy, man. His black dad is alive, and he called Trump his daddy. Come on now. That's disrespect.
Listen,
I mean, your man back to NFL though, like
show he put on was ridiculous, man.
But there's nuance to that, Jimmy. There was nothing else going on with the NFL. But we could have that conversation another day too.
You gonna defend that man because you like his music. You gonna defend all the nonsense he does.
I believe his track record is impeccable.
Listen, man, you trying to say he don't have one man got to eat disease?
I don't understand why you say that.
Because it's funny.
Well, I don't.
Listen, I'm not gonna bash it. It is what it is. We can talk about this offline. I'm just proving a point though. Depending upon how people feel about you, they'll let you get away with whatever it is. And that's just an example.
Your talent decides how much grace you get, right? Because there's a lot of people out here who can't make any missteps, like Chrisette Michelle, right?
And I thought that was terrible.
But she still hasn't recovered.
She hasn't recovered.
And all she did was do a performance. Now, I disagreed with it, and I was one of those main people like, yo, I don't think you should do that because you don't got the kind of cachet that's going to be able to carry you and bring you back from that. That's a very bad business decision, even though you got paid to do it. But like, she doesn't get afforded the grace of a Kanye West or of a Jay-Z or of anybody,
or the gentleman that Latoya is talking about, because it depends upon how people feel about you.
Yeah, man. She got washed, and that was totally unfair.
And I think to Latoya's point, while I like a lot of stuff that he does, he's had a lot of major missteps, in my opinion.
A lot of people do it. Listen, and the thing is, none of us are perfect. All of us are human. Right. It is what it is.
That's right.
We're all human, right? So it all depends upon whether I believe. And I think to me, that's what separates folks, right? If I feel like you're doing things and you're not looking out for the best interest, like you may have a whole different way of seeing the world and approaching it. But if I feel like you're for the people, even if I disagree with which way you're moving, I mean, everything's nuanced. Everything has context. So I just try to keep it that way.
So you disagree with me, Jim?
I mean, I just like how you defend Bordeaux. It's funny to me. That's all.
Yeah.
All right. So listen, y'all. This has been great, right? Had a great conversation about Caste. As we close out, what would you say to a young person if you wanted them to read this? What would you tell them?
It's a great question.
Go ahead, Dwight.
For me, what I would do is I would tell them, if you want to know the origins of this country, the fabric of this country, the soil of this country, read this book. It's going to tell you the beginning, and it's really going to tell you the middle, and it's going to tell you where we at right now as well. So that's what I would say.
Gotcha. What about you, Corey?
If I was to tell a young person to try to get to read this book, I don't know, man. Like, I deal with young people every day. It's hard because, like, young people don't have, generally don't have a sense of how destroyed this country really is, because they were never taught it, because they've been in these Americanized schools, and the history that they taught is just plain old lies. And so for me to try to get them to read something that goes against everything that they taught and believe, I don't know. I'm having a difficult time in trying to explain to them the importance, like, without, raising their self-defense antenna, you know what I mean, against everything that they've ever been taught. You know what I mean? So, like, I don't know what language I would have to use to get them to not to raise that self-defense antenna, to actually get them reading the book.
No, that's a great question. I don't even know at what age I would have someone start to read this book. I say, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. That's an excellent question. I just don't know, like, because of the way the book made me feel. And I know that sometimes if they don't have the experience to understand what's being articulated, I could see how someone younger read this book and feel hopeless.
Or go crazy left.
And exactly, so like that's why like I'm having a hard time, like, you know, trying to figure that out. But I mean, this book just explains so much. Like Corey and Dwight both said, when you read this book, a lot of things just become clear, right? You know what I mean? Like when I fly first class, every time I catch a flight and I see a 6F staring at me, it's the caste system.
Facts. I think I would say, if you really want to understand Black people's position in America and also around the world, this is a great book to read and can actually help you understand the inner workings of the wealthy as well. That's just off the top. I definitely would have to go back and refine that, though, because I agree with y'all, right? The age, like, I wouldn't recommend this to a 12-year-old. I probably 18 and above, probably more like 21. But also, I feel like this book is great because I feel that every generation we get removed from enslavement, we lose a touch of what's really going on.
Oh no, it's a masterpiece. Like, she got two classics so far. I haven't finished the other one, but like from people told me and what I'm reading, like, her body of work is crazy. Like, the fact that she penned these, like, it just makes me, like, you know, I just want to give her props for putting this together.
Yeah, man, she's amazing.
I'm inspired.
Yeah, like I said, I pride myself on having a tough pen. Like, her pen is, like, she put my pen to shame. Like, I don't even want to talk about my writing compared to hers, because it don't come close, right? We talk about the same things, but the way she weave the stories in and out and put the, you know what I mean, like the way she put it together, we're not on the same level. And
it almost feels like I play AAU ball. Well, back then it wasn't called, but it was AAU ball, right?
Yeah.
And you play like in the city and y'all dominate and then y'all travel. Right?
And then you find out
you go to another city and you like, whoa.
Yeah, your game don't match up with somebody else's, like, because like the whole thing about how she, like, this joint is masterful. Like, if you've read anything, like literally anybody, and like I'll put her pen in the same class as anybody, right? Because of the way she weaves everything and how easy she makes it for you to understand the dense amount of information she gave in this book. She gave a ton of dense information in a very palatable way. And that's super hard to do.
But I'll say this though, Corey, right? I bet if you did it full time and had the time to do research, you could come up with a masterful work as well.
I could. I would never doubt myself to be able to do that, but I still don't think, because she has that many years of experience on me, that my pen could reach where hers is at right now. I really think that she's super masterful at what she does. Absolutely.
So Michonne says gender plays a significant role of the extension of grace. Most disrespected person in America. I want to say, I gotta send you something. I want to get your opinion on, Talisha. But yeah. All right. So Latoya asked a great question. What's one lesson for this book or from this book we should apply to our lives? So, do y'all have any lessons you think that we can apply?
I got one lesson. It's a lesson that I employ in my life already, and that you should employ in yours. If it's co-opted, it's corrupted. Don't get involved with it. Don't give them no power in anything that you got going on in your life. You can, if you got to share power, you're not sharing power.
Okay, Jimmy, what do you think?
Go to Dwight first, because I'm still thinking.
I'm still trying to think as well. Just one lesson, huh?
One lesson. I mean, listen.
I'll give you a lesson. You can't trust the system. As PE said, can't trust them.
Buy Bitcoin.
All right, let's get to the rest of these comments, and then we will close out this session. All right. I'm learning from the Germans as a result of this book. What book? I'd never heard of that book before. I got to look that up.
It was I think she mentioned it in this one, but go ahead, though.
Well, yeah, she talked about how the Germans have eradicated all of the atrocities
Oh yeah,
Yeah, and just how far they go,
And
how they handle theirs from how we handle ours.
I got it. I thought you were talking about a book. I got you. Yes. And I think they have the rubric on how to do it. Reading Worth of Our Sons, reading Worth of Other Sons, and then The Devil We Know right after was great. Yeah, we got to get to Devil That You Know by Charles Blow. Another one Dwight has.
I've done that one.
What I coats on.
All right.
I understand the premise, but I haven't had a chance to get into it yet.
All right, so yeah, I'm going to order that one now, and then if we're going to do that next, then I'm going to get into that.
Yeah, we can do that next. I mean, that could be the next book. I've read that. I'll reread it too. I mean, it was, you know.
I reread it as well. It's a good one.
Okay. All right. Don Johnson says you thought you were the dude until you played
DeJuan Wagner.
No, actually, to be honest with you, Don, that's a true story. And I told it on our show several times. It was Kobe. Because Kobe was actually younger than me.
Remember that story.
When we played Kobe in AAU, I went back and took my studies more serious.
He made you change your whole outlook.
I said, that's what a pro looks like.
All right, so Don Johnson says, know your enemy. That's his lesson. Yeah. All right, Monica said, lesson equals we are never getting reparations because that would give us a leg up, and the folks would see that as a demotion.
Yo, that's why they want to stop the payments, the PPP payments, and all that stuff. They want that stopped because as you see, as soon as black people get a little bit of money and they see what these jobs is paying, they stop working these menial jobs, which is in the book. She says that this country needs us to be able to work for it to function properly. That's a whole reason why they want those payments to stop.
All right, so Latoya says 100% agree. Plus, as Corey says, they have to acknowledge doing us dirty. They'll never do that. Facts.
Never.
Right. In Germany, it's a crime to fly a Nazi flag, but we have states that refuse to get rid of the Confederate flag.
That whole section of the book where she was basically juxtaposing how Germany handled like the Nazis versus how we handle our history. It's crazy.
Yeah. That right there made me want to stab somebody in the eye.
So listen, y'all.
See, it made everybody emotional. This is one of those books that grabs you, man.
Absolutely. So
let me ask you guys another question real fast before we get out of here. I know we're about to get out of here, Kamar. I'm not trying to prolong it. Because this book, I could tell just by specifically you, Kamar, because the way you responded to the book, I can see that it actually touched you. What's another book that you've read that has touched you in the way this book has? Pause.
I don't need the pause, brother. But in the way Color of Law touched me, but I don't know if a book has touched me.
I'm gonna grab one for myself to show you.
Okay.
What about you, Corey?
Good night, Toy.
I don't know.
What about you, good brother? Good night, Toy.
Good night, Toy.
This was the one that grabbed me right here, man.
I don't think I've read that one. I don't think I've read that one.
Driving.
Who's it written by?
I'm trying to get it. Yeah, bro.
Oh, Gretchen Soren. Oh, I haven't read that one.
Yeah, this will get you emotional, man, because it's gonna
driving while we gotta add that to the list. Driving while black.
This one is gonna get you because it talks about how, as the automobile came into, the country and blacks began to see that as a way to, establish their individuality, they fought hard against that. We actually had to have a damn butler suit in the back just so we wouldn't get lynched on the road, man. So yeah, this is
wow. I haven't read that one.
If you were driving a car, you had to have a butler suit and you hanging up just so you could fake like you was, you was a butler or whatnot. So yeah, this
now Dwight, do they talk about the Green Book in that?
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
Okay, that'd be dope.
Got that one too.
Damn. Toya, Dwight is our official librarian of the Black Wealth Project, and he has put a list together, by the way.
Toya, I believe Toya's in there, right? So everybody joined the Black Wealth Project group here on Facebook. Again, join the Black Wealth Project here group on Facebook. And also do us a favor. Like these videos, y'all. We're fighting the algorithms. Our algorithms be slapping us up a little bit. We need y'all help in fighting this.
Monica said the color of law made her more angry than this book.
Yeah. The color law. I was mad as hell when I read that.
I was mad at color law too, right? And when you understand how our neighborhoods were formed through redlining and all of these how we kind of been herded together, you understand why there's so many issues. However, and again, that was evil. That was evil, but I just feel like a lot of the other evils that were portrayed and illustrated in this book just
the color of law. The color of law pissed me off, but I think I read a book before that. It was called Family Properties by Beryl Satter. I don't know if you read that before, Dwight. It's called Family Properties.
Yeah,
she talks a lot about a lot of the same things that are in the color of law, but she actually has real life stories with individuals and things they had to deal with as it pertains to the same information in the color of law. But the color of law is on that list, though. There's a list.
One of the books we talk about, Jim, and always talk about is the Creature from Jekyll Island.
Oh yeah,
that book changed everything about everything for me.
Yeah, so I guess the point I'm making is this book, all those books we talk about, this book goes up there with them in terms of like must haves in your library. So
man, The Creature from Jekyll Island is another one of those books, right?
Yeah,
when you read the book, it's heavy as heavy. Like, what did they really do that?
I got the physical copy. I read the Kindle and I got the Audible. Like that's one of those. But
that book is heavy.
But I gotta get that book though, Dwight. Driving While Black. I gotta add that to the list. But, so Kamari, is it official? The next one is Charles Blow's book.
Yeah, let's make it official.
It's official. It's official.
It's official.
All right, Jose just came up with Our Kind of People was a book that hit me prior to Creature and now Cast. Okay.
Yeah. Uppity Negroes.
One last one before y'all go.
Come on, librarian. Let's go.
That's the librarian. That's the librarian.
This one right here make you really upset too, man.
The Devil in the Groove.
I haven't read that one either.
Yeah.
What's that one about, Dwight?
This talks about how it was in the South. It's about this one particular case in part of Florida where they basically lynched this one guy, and Thurgood came down there to try to save the day. It talks really about Thurgood a lot as well. You get the
they talked about Thurgood and Cast, especially about the young man who got thrown in the river and the gun got put to his daddy's head. And they said Thurgood tried to come down there and get them a petition. I don't remember exactly what the outcome of that was, but matter of fact, they did everything. They signed up petitions and they wouldn't take up the case. Yep. Even the governor wouldn't take up the case. So that happened a lot.
Man, Dwight finna have us take up arms and join a new Black Panther Party or something. We keep pulling these books out, man.
No, that's it, bro.
We do have to be mindful if we're going to be creating wealth, financial wealth. We do have to defend that wealth.
We have to create ways to protect it, or it's not ours.
And the question we have to all ask ourselves, right? We saw what happened on January 6th. We saw what happened in Charlottesville. We saw what happened even with some of the cats that came through Philly not too long ago on 4th of July. Are we ready for a real onslaught from some of those folks?
No.
And that's not an individual task, right? And I'm not trying to incite anything. I'm just asking a question. So that's something we'll keep. We will keep on the.
That's why I was mad at the boy who marched up on the white folks, the boy that in Georgia or whatever, and he told him he was coming, and it was like 100 people with guns.
I know you're talking about, yeah.
I'm like, that's not tough. That's dumb as hell. You gotta stop telling people you coming. Like, you should have just popped up, because if they really wanted to, they could have murked all of y'all.
Wow,
you was coming.
So
tough stuff.
Well, let's talk about that in closing real quick, Corey. Right now, I feel that our folks are tired of talking and waiting. They just want to see action, even if it's not really action, even if it's not really thought out, even if there's no strategy. They just want to see something happen.
They're just tired. They're just sick. They're tired of being
sick and tired of being sick and tired.
And I get that, but at the same time, like, I love to study war, right? And when you go and you look at what's
crazy.
But when you go and you look at what happened with the Vietnamese, when America got into the war, what did they do? They didn't go off showing stuff. They started digging their tunnels and they got trenches, and they were able to defeat a bigger enemy just by being strategic and not fighting the fight.
all warfare is based on deception. Sun Tzu taught me that.
Yeah, man.
Hey, listen, man. You want to be revolutionary, man? Just go buy Bitcoin, and that's not investment advice, by the way.
Yeah.
If you want to be revolutionary, read a book. Read a good. Wait a minute. Let me clarify that. Read a good book that's accepted by the Black Wolf Project. How about that?
Yeah, there you go. Bitcoin in Black America. I'm sorry, but go ahead though. Let's get out of here though.
That is a good book too.
All right. So last two, and we getting out of here. Talisha says thank you for joining us.
Thank you also.
Hey, thank you, Talisha. Talisha's awesome. For those who don't know, she's a blockchain expert.
Yes, she is.
So make sure you guys check in with Talisha. She's awesome.
All right, and the last comment of the night. So it says they act out of fear, retaliation more than anything else when it comes to us. Facts. Facts.
Ooh.
But again, as always, I definitely always feel with gratitude that so many of us are here every Sunday to have these in-depth conversations. Listen, y'all, we're not going nowhere by having these surface level conversations, right? Just like Corey just said, brothers and sisters out here making knee-jerk reactions because it looks good on the gram, in my opinion. Maybe they're doing something else for some other reason, but there can't be any strategy involved in that from my vantage point. We got to go deeper, y'all. We got to go deeper. So listen, tune in next Sunday for the Black Wolf Project, 7 p.m. next Sunday, Black Wolf Project. Everybody have a great week and y'all be awesome. Later.
Peace, y'all. Peace. Love y'all.
Thanks for coming through.